Yo, beast mode, I go beast mode. Left, right, hook, then I reload. Speed, agility, breathe slow. Connect every uppercut, clean blows.
James Lutton with Andrew Moloney. Andrew, how are you?
Yeah, going well, mate. As good as I can in quarantine. But yeah, we're getting there. We've only got 4 days to go, so excited to get home.
I bet. It's been a long old slog, obviously, with camp out in America and then back into quarantine in Sydney at the moment. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, 7 weeks in total. So a little bit shorter than last time, but it's still very long.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the fight. Obviously, not the result you wanted. I suppose the whole outcome of the fights really have been over the last year or so very long-winded. The Rima, the second fight, obviously had a lot of controversy, and then you got your trilogy fight with Franco. Let's just talk about the third fight, obviously most recent fight for yourself. Obviously, not the win, but how did it go for you?
Yeah, that's right. Still very disappointed in the result of the fight, and disappointed in my performance. Really, not the worst performance in my career, but just a few mistakes made that ultimately cost me the fight. I felt like a lot of the rounds were very close, and there's just a few mistakes that I made that cost me a lot of rounds, and yeah, ultimately cost me the win. And it's very frustrating to watch that back and to see those mistakes. And I still really feel like on my best night, or without making those mistakes, it's a fight I can still win. So that's sort of very hard to take, but it is what it is. And at this level, when you're a couple of percent off your best and your opponent fights well, which Franco did, no doubt. I've got to give credit to him. He fought very well. I think he put on a much better performance than he did in even the first and the second fight. So credit to him. But yeah, unfortunately at that level, that's all it takes is a couple of percent off your best, and you come away with a loss. And it's very hard to take, but it's in the past now. So I've just got to learn from those mistakes and get back to the gym and improve as much as I can, and get back in the ring as soon as possible and get back on the right track and come back better and stronger.
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of the whole trilogy, so for the first fight, Franco was the underdog and it was almost a shock win for him. Then the second fight, as I mentioned, was marred by the whole controversy. Was it a headbutt? Was it a punch? The whole facade really. And then this fight, obviously Franco winning again. Is it just a case of Franco was better than people gave him credit for?
Yeah, I think so. I always felt in my head that he was a good fighter. Probably didn't know sort of what to expect too much in the first fight, but yeah, I certainly knew that he was a good fighter, and after watching him more, obviously realised that. And he's from a very good team, a very good stable of fighters and great coaches. So he, no doubt, he's a very good fighter. So yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't underestimate him, but maybe other people did. But as I said, I mean, it's frustrating. Probably people will think I'm silly saying this, but I still think on my best night I can beat him. But I've just got to get back to the drawing board now and get back in the ring, improve, and come back stronger and work my way back up the ratings and back into that position to again fight for world titles.
With after the fights, we always see between the fighters pure respect. I mean, yourself and your brother, two of the most respectful fighters I know anyway, regardless of, there's never no trash talk, there's never no bad blood with you guys and your opponents. Obviously, we've seen the whole going back to trilogies and Gatti Ward and seeing the friendship they developed. With yourself and Franco, how is your relationship outside of the ring?
Yeah, that's right. And, after there was probably, I suppose there was like only maybe a little bit of bad blood from the result of that second fight. But obviously, there was maybe some words exchanged between teams. Not really so much between myself and Franco. But at the end of the day, that result wasn't really, his decision. That was, the commission's choice and the referee's decision. So can't really hold that against him. But obviously going into that third fight, he had what I wanted and felt I deserved in that world title. So, there's always going to be a bit of tension there, but after the fight, there was just, total respect between us. He came into, we spoke in the ring, obviously, and then he came into the change room after the fight, and we had a good chat and, wished each other all the best going forward in our careers. And said there was no bad blood, and, both understood that, things were said in the lead up were just, part of the build up of that fight. And then again, sort of bumped into him at the airport the next day on his way home. And again, had a bit of a chat and just wished him all the best. And since then, we've even had a few messages back and forward on Instagram and things. So, yeah, he's got my respect for sure. He's a great fighter, and we had a great battle in the ring. And unfortunately, he came out on top, but I wish him all the best.
I mean, in terms of boxing, it's a career that's filled with ups and downs, For yourself, obviously, you've been prepared to take the loss and you learn from those. What do you feel was your biggest lesson from this trilogy?
I learned a lot of things from that third fight. Well, even the whole trilogy in itself, over that 16 months with 3, training camps preparing for a good fighter, and they're obviously the heartbreaker losing the first fight and having to rebuild and knowing that I was coming into that fight again, and then the outcome of the second fight and preparing for the third. The whole thing in total, I feel like really sort of forced me to improve as a fighter, and then obviously the experience of those 3 fights. I feel like I've really learned a lot over the last 16 months. And as much as it sucks to have those 2 losses on my record, I feel like going forward in my career, the experience that I've gained from that trilogy is going to do me a world of good. And I certainly feel like I've learned a lot, especially from that last fight. So now I've just got to get back to the gym and make sure that I learn from those mistakes, correct those mistakes, and come back stronger next time.
What is the plan? What is next for Andrew Moloney? I see you recently mentioned the winner of the next Ioka fight. What is your preferred route next?
Yeah, that's right. Sort of having a look at the champions in the division, I think my fastest route back to a world title will be through the WBO, and Kazuto Ioka, the current champion, who's fighting in next week against Francisco Rodriguez Jr. I probably expect Ioka to keep hold of his title. He's a very good fighter, obviously a 4-division world champion. So that's the route I'd love to go. So my plan is to get back in the ring as soon as possible. Hopefully, fingers crossed, before this year finishes, get back in the ring and get a good win on my record. Hopefully, we can get some sort of WBO regional title on the line to help boost me up those ratings, and then get a crack at the WBO world champion as soon as possible. Hopefully, Ioka keeps hold of that belt because he's a great fighter and someone I'd love to share the ring with. And beating him, being a 4-division world champion, would be a huge accomplishment for me and something that really excites me. So I hope we can make that fight happen as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Something I mentioned to your brother, Jason, I saw on social media after your fight with Franco, people felt like, was it a hindrance? You've both fighting on the same card. Does it take away anything from your camp? Are you taking your eye off the ball potentially because you're potentially worried about Jason's fight and Jason's camp? Do you feel that's something that has affected you previously, or not looking for excuses as such, but would you prefer to fight on separate cards?
It's a tough one. There's positives and negatives. There's no doubt, and it's not an excuse though. I don't think it affected my performance, or I'd like to think it didn't. But there's no doubt on that night I did sort of maybe use a little bit of nervous energy watching Jason fight. I tried not to watch it at points, but I could hear the crowd from the change room, and I felt like I was probably getting more sort of stressed and using energy not watching the fight. So I sort of was keeping a little bit of an eye on it. but I couldn't hear any commentary, and I couldn't, because I was half watching, I couldn't really tell how close the fight was. So there's a bit of nervous energy sort of used up there, I suppose, but I don't think it affected my performance at all. So it's no excuse. I sort of feel bad in a way that Jason didn't really get the opportunity to celebrate his victory, because I fought not long after and took a loss, and obviously dampened the mood a lot. But on the other hand, the positives are us getting to train side by side for, the whole training camp, and cut weight together and diet together, and the whole build up, doing everything, pushing each other in training every day. I think that's certainly a huge bonus. And then the nights when we're both won on the same night is just the biggest buzz, and such an amazing moment, and such an amazing feeling that, even though there is the downside, I probably would still risk that, to fight again on the same night, because when we both win, it's just so special.
This is the thing. They always say boxing is such a lonely sport. When you've got your twin doing it side by side, doing everything together, I suppose it does make it a lot easier to pursue your career in boxing, I suppose.
Yeah, certainly. And, being at the same sort of point in training camp, doing every session together, you're pushing each other every day, and, also helping each other, picking up on things that, he might be doing, maybe not to his best at that time, or him saying to me, try this, and, just being able to give each other advice, and to push each other and help each other get better. And I really feel like that's been a huge part in why we're at the level we are today, is having each other to bounce off and push each other to the limit. And each day we, I'll, help him get better, and he helps me get better.
Absolutely. Last thing I want to mention to yourself, you've just mentioned about the nervous energy you used up. Just for those who don't know, myself included, why is it important to use that nervous energy for your fight?
Oh, I suppose it's just your overall energy in total. When you're nervous and you're using energy, you obviously want to have that to go in the ring for your own fight. A 12-round fight is pretty taxing, and you want to have, take everything you can and all the fuel that you've got in your body into the ring with you. So, I probably used a little bit of it up, but as I said, I don't want to use it as an excuse. I don't really feel like it affected my performance on the night. I didn't have any issues with my fitness or running out of energy at all. I just made a few mistakes that cost me the fight, unfortunately.
That's it. Well, Andrew, wish you all the best. Thank you for your time today and speaking to us. Even though it wasn't the result I was looking for, hopefully your next one will be what you're looking for, and hopefully a world title is around the corner again for yourself.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate your support, and good chatting with you.